Welcome to the library. How are you? So what kind of books are you looking for? Oh, okay. Kind of magical fantasy books. Yes, we have lots of those. Is there one I could recommend? Well, it's funny you should ask. There is one actually. There is one in particular. But I'll have to tell you about it before I could ever think about showing it to you. Would you like me to tell you about this book? Okay then. A while ago, a man came in here dressed as a wizard. And I thought that perhaps he had been to some kind of party or some kind of conference, and I didn't think much more of it. He was scurrying about the place. He looked like he was in a hurry, and I remember thinking, I wonder if he needs some help. So I wandered over to the man who was dressed as a wizard, and I said to him, "Excuse me, sir, would you like some assistance?" And the man said, No, I'm quite all right. I'm just looking." And I said, "Okay," and I went back to my desk. The man dressed as the wizard scurried about a little bit longer, and then I noticed something rather peculiar. Rather than take a book, the man pulled out a book that I had never seen before and placed it between some other books on one of the shelves. He then very quickly left, and I never saw him again. Well, I thought this was rather unusual. I was very familiar with the books that were in the library. It was only a rather small library after all. So I understandably was curious, and I went over and looked at the book. There was something very different about this book, something very different indeed. It was a very strong, well-built book, with incredibly intricate design on the cover. It was about the size of a normal sheet of paper, and it was about 4 inches in thickness. It was a hardback book, beautifully made, and it had a sort of wooden edge around it. It was very special indeed. I decided to take it over to my desk, and I went to open it, but just as I was about to, a customer came over to speak to me. I put the book down under my desk on a shelf, and I was busy for the rest of the day To be honest with you, I've forgotten all about the book by the time it was time to close the library. I was just turning off the light, and I saw something glowing from a shelf beneath my desk. It was the book, and it was glowing a beautiful light. I hadn't seen it before, but there was a title on the front cover. Before, I had just seen lots of patterns and kind of plants and vines all over the book. The book looked like it had been entwined in patterns and vines of some kind, but now shone out of that some words. The words read, "The Beginner's Book of Magic." I naturally assumed that this was a book for magicians who were just messing around, doing tricks and such. And so I thought, this will be filled with card tricks and gimmicks, but I couldn't understand why it was lit up. There was obviously some kind of a battery in there, but I hadn't touched the book, not since I'd put the book down. So how was it that the light in this book had come on? I decided I would investigate the book once I had got home, and so I put it in my bag and I left work. When I got home, I made myself a drink, and then I decided to open the book. The light was still there, but I could not see any way that it was being created. There were no wires. There was no battery pack. It really was quite extraordinary. I thought that perhaps it was glowing in the dark, some kind of a special paint, but no. I had the lights on in my living room, and I could still see it lit up. So I opened the book, and the first page was a beautiful woodland. It was so beautiful. It really was hypnotic. I found myself being lost in the book. I found myself being lost in the forest. I couldn't stop staring at all of the trees and all of the plants. And I stared and I stared. And the more I stared, I could have sworn I started to see things moving. I started to see the leaves in the trees moving. I could have sworn I could hear the wind blowing through the trees, and I could feel a warm breeze on my face. It was the winter, and there were no warm breezes to be found anywhere. But here I was, having a warm breeze blowing on my face from a woodland on a summer's day in a book. I decided to reach forward and see if I could touch one of the leaves that was moving clearly in front of me. And as I did, I felt it. I felt that leaf as if it was a real leaf. I put my hand next to the leaf and touched another leaf, and then I put my hand next to that leaf and touched a branch. Then I put my hand next to me and touched a tree, and then I looked around me and I realized I was in the forest. I was now completely surrounded by trees. My living room was gone, and I was in that forest. I wasn't scared. Everything was so hypnotic and beautiful that I just felt so relaxed and amazed by it all. I knew it was unbelievable, but it's hard to explain. I just did not feel afraid. Not afraid at all. No, I felt very good indeed. I decided to stand up, for now, instead of sitting on my sofa, I was sitting on a log stump, and I decided to walk a little. I saw a path in front of me, and as the path winded off into the distance, I noticed that there were wonderful looking animals all around me, creatures I'd never seen before. They didn't seem to mind me being there. They didn't seem to care. There were animals with 20 wings. There were animals with 10 eyes. There were animals with legs longer than a giraffe's neck. And there were animals with multiple hands doing multiple things. They all looked rather friendly, with wonderful range of colors and bright, vibrant colors, really quite eye-catching. I decided that I would continue to walk, still noticing that I wasn't afraid of any of this. And perhaps I thought I should have been afraid, but I wasn't. After walking for a short time, I noticed that there was a rather beautiful cottage in the distance, and so I naturally thought I would go and see if anyone was in. I eventually got up to the front door, and I gently knocked on it. I heard somebody inside, and then the door opened, and guess who it was? It was the wizard that I had seen, the one who brought the book into the library in the first place. I said to the wizard, and now I was thinking, perhaps this isn't a man in fancy dress after all. I said to the wizard, I opened the book that you left in the library, and now I have found myself in this woodland. The wizard said, then you have been chosen. I said, chosen? Chosen for what exactly? The wizard said, "Please come in and sit down, and I will explain." So I sat down and the wizard poured me a cup of very nice tea. The wizard said he had placed the book in the library and he was looking for an apprentice. The book would only allow a suitable apprentice to enter into the forest. Everybody else who looked at the book and took it home would simply read its pages and then return it. But eventually, the book would allow someone into the forest, and when it did, he would know he had his apprentice. And I said, "Oh, I see." I still noticed that none of this was really fazing me at all, which I found rather odd. But there was something very relaxing and calming about the place. Something very calming indeed. The wizard said to me, "I want you to be my apprentice, and I want to train you to become a wizard like me. For there is much to do in this world and in yours. The world does not exist in the book. The book is merely a doorway into the world, and there are many doorways into this world. But wizards protect this world and your world against dark magic, and I need to train an apprentice. Are you interested?" And without much thought, I said yes. "Listen, there's somebody coming, but there is more I need to tell you of this story before I can show you the book. Come and meet me here again, and I'll tell you the rest of the story. But until then, goodbye."